The next question is for His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. Like you regularly say that 50 years of steady service is better than 1 year of explosive service. But to remain steady in Krishna consciousness is a challenge. We are affected usually by inertia.
Bhakti is the process of offering our body, mind, words, and life in the service of Krishna. When you're young and when you're old, you may not have the same physical and mental offerings to give. But Krishna sees the purpose in which everything is offered. It means we're giving the best we can in whatever situation. And to be giving the best we can, to follow the regulative principles, to follow the vow of chanting at least 16 rounds, to serve the Vaishnavas, to serve the mission of Guru and Gauranga. That is steadiness in devotional service. Details may change according to circumstances, but that spirit of devotion should remain steady in all circumstances. Srila Prabhupada is Acharya. He was traveling around the world. When he was sick, he would sometimes go to Stinson Beach or to Vrindavan to recover. In his last days, he was laying in bed. But service to his Guru Maharaj's mission, remembering Krishna, chanting his holy name, serving the Vaishnavas, was his intent in every situation. And he was doing what he could in every situation. So to be the best we can be and to do the best we can through all the various changes in life is to be steady in our devotional service.
Thank you, Maharaj. The next question is for His Holiness Niranjana Swami Maharaj. This question was asked to one of our devotees here by another devotee. His question is that in ISKCON, many of the spiritual masters we find that it's very hard to get their personal time. We come for the programs, we hear lectures, we see them, but we do not get their personal time, nor do we have any specific material or spiritual qualification which will draw their attention. So this devotee was asked by this one devotee that how then should we accept anyone in ISKCON as our spiritual master? Because no one is there to give us that time, that personal attention. Should we just go to some other sampradaya or something and take initiation?
I think I partially answered that question in the last question, about accepting a spiritual master and doing the groundwork ourselves. That's part of the answer. That it's not a cheap thing for Krishna to manifest himself in our heart and to get a confirmation within our heart that the instructions of this person are the foundation of my faith and devotional service. I think Prabhupada used to give the example of first preparing the soil before the seed is planted. And in the same way, we have to do our work to prepare ourselves. And we also, certainly it is according to scriptural injunction that one has to test the spiritual master before accepting the spiritual master, and the spiritual master has to test the disciple. And therefore, there are various ways of associating with the spiritual master through his representatives, which enables us to test the spiritual master that the representative is supposed to be the Prabhupada. I think in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, he said that his disciples, they have to be his representatives and they have to be prepared to defeat others' arguments on behalf of the spiritual master. So the spiritual master also has representatives. And Maharaj was giving the example yesterday of how Jiva Goswami soundly defeated Rupa Narayan. That's the Rupa Narayan, wasn't it? And because of soundly defeating them, he was able to convince them to accept who Jiva Goswami accepted as his guru, as Rupa and Sanatan. And so in the same way, the representative of the spiritual master, they have to be able to defeat the arguments of the candidates for devotional service, and they have to nourish faith. So if one may not have direct association with the spiritual master, then the spiritual master is thinking of how to give his association in other ways to make himself personally accessible. We grew up as disciples of Srila Prabhupada, we grew up in a culture that the Prabhupada was present in his books. Prabhupada was present in his instructions. Prabhupada was present in his representatives. And because of that implicit faith in Prabhupada, we accepted. So, if the spiritual master is somebody that we speak and we hear from, not speak, but hear from regularly, if it awakens some faith in their hearts, then we should also seek out those who properly represent the spiritual master and to see how they can help us overcome our doubts and to nourish our strength in devotional service, and see them as representing the spiritual master and as good as getting the association with the spiritual master. If once that faith is awakened, it has to be nourished. Without pushti, it's very difficult to advance in spiritual life. So one has to become very eager to go for it, to seek it out, and not expect that one's necessarily going to be the person who's materially and spiritually qualified to get that recognition. Although sometimes even a moment's association can be sufficient to catapult somebody's enthusiasm in devotional service for a whole lifetime, as we saw what Srila Prabhupada did. There are many devotees now whose spiritual life has been nourished and sustained by just a momentary glance of Prabhupada, or just a slight shake of the hand, or some small gesture in some way that the devotee never forgot. I think of a devotee named Prabhupada Das, who went to 26 Second Avenue, and he was going and hearing Prabhupada's lectures, and he wasn't ready to surrender. And he said that one day Srila Prabhupada came to him. He was holding a dhoti, and he said, "Please put this, take this, accept this." And Prabhupada Das said, "I'm not ready now, Swamiji. I'm not ready for this yet." He openly admits he was, at that time of his period of his life, he was really most of the time coming to Prabhupada's lectures on intoxication. In fact, Prabhupada even one day stopped him on the door and said, "Lon, are you on LSD today?" But anyways, Prabhupada handed him the dhoti, and then Prabhupada Das saw a tear in his eye. And he said he never forgot that. And 10 years later, He came and he joined the Krishna consciousness movement because he never forgot that tear. So something very small, but something very substantial can have a very deep impact if we're eager to obtain it.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. The next question is for His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. Maharaj, in order to practice Krishna consciousness, especially in today's day and age, a certain amount of material necessities or a certain amount of material comfort is needed to practice Krishna consciousness steadily. Is it true that we need that material comfort to practice Krishna consciousness in today's day and age? And if so, how much should we endeavor for this material comfort in this material situation?
You need a place to sleep. You need something to eat. I mean, the standard for material requirements differ from ashram to ashram. For the renounced daughter, that includes the sannyasis and brahmacharis, no. For grihastas, they have to maintain their household, so there's some requirements to maintain job and for family and responsibilities. But there's no material, requirement for Krishna consciousness. It's free from all material. You have to maintain your body, and if you are a grihasta, you have to maintain the responsibilities of grihasta ashram. So in each case, for practice of Krishna consciousness successfully, the minimum is emphasized, not the maximum. Whatever is necessary, not beyond that. And so that has to be evaluated. And therefore, in that case, we need to get instructions and advice from senior devotees. What do I need to help me practice successfully? If we judge for ourselves, our material desires will jump in, and then we'll start thinking, I need this, I need that, I need this, I need that. Maybe some things you do, but to get an honest evaluation, you have to go for others who know you and know how best to give advice to help you. But back to the principle, no, in the sense that there's no material requirement, but you have to take care of your body and your responsibilities. That's there. If you're sick, it's hard to execute your devotional service. So you have to take precautions not to get sick, and you have to take remedies when you do get sick. If you have to get, Prabhupada says, we're using cars, we're using airplanes, we're using computers. Why? Because they are helpful in spreading Krishna consciousness for preaching, but not for our own sense gratification. Nothing should be done for sense gratification. Everything should be done as a service to the Lord, even maintaining our own bodies and the extensions of our bodies. That's the principle of yukta vairagya, to use everything in the service of the Lord. And the principle is to minimize one's bodily needs in such a way that one can practice Krishna consciousness successfully.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.